All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Great people. Greatest comeback of all time, of all
I know.
time. Kamusta, brother? How was it?
Okay naman. So, this week has been very interesting. Kanina nga, we were talking about different things. Pero alam mo what's interesting is the New World Order with Trump as president, di
Yeah,
ba?
that's it, brother. Kaya nga sabi ko, New World Order, pero masaya ngayon si Senator Trillanes. Kasi yung beshi niya is Marco Rubio. Yeah, I think people don't know
Oh,
about it. There's a backstory there. Alam mo naman ba, during the time of Digong, si Senator Trillanes had to do a lot of backdoor diplomacy dahil medyo alanganin yung situation niya. I mean, he was even threatened during that time. So one of the persons that he always reached out to was Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. At in fact, kung titignan nyo, si Senator Marco Rubio has a very strong record of pushing for resolutions in favor of not only stronger bilateral alliance, pero pati kay Senator De Lima. You can find the resolution filed by the U.S. Senate calling for the freedom of Senator De Lima back in the day. So this is a years-long friendship and relationship. And as we know, it looks like Florida, Miami boys are going to run top positions from Defense Secretary Waltz and Secretary of State naman si Marco Rubio. So, yung mga DDS na akala nyo, maliligtas si Duterte kay Trump. Yari kayo ngayon kasi puro mga China hakang nandyan at saka kaibigan pa ni Senator Trillanes. Kung yun ang world order natin, kaibigan natin, no, 'di ba? Kamusta bro? So, how did you absorb? Paano mo na-absorb yung resulta?
so sa akin kasi I was always a little bit more indifferent towards the
Yeah.
results of the election. I think you know that. And that because marami ako nakikitang mga polisiya na nagustuhan ko kay Trump. Marami din ako nakita mga polisiya na nagustuhan ko kay Kamala Harris. So sa akin, walang talo dito. And unfortunately nga, of course, if you're a little bit more left-leaning, matatakot ka, madidisappoint ka. Pero if you're more right-leaning, right of center, mas magugustuhan mo yung mga polisiya ni Trump. At alam mo, kahit na somebody asked me this if I want Trump to win or if I want Kamala Harris to win, kahit yung mga kamag-anak ko, alam mo, I was going both ways. And like we were talking about the last time, I really think kasi this is a different Trump. Now, I could be wrong. He could be just as vindictive and just as egomaniac. I mean, egomaniac. I think he was always an egomaniac. But that's beside the point. Now he has a team. That's what I like is he has a team. He has people behind him that are strong-willed, strong-minded, and I think he will listen to them. And I think he does listen to them. Kaya nga, for example, ginawa ni Trump yung pagtanggap ng Bitcoin, my favorite topic, is because marami nagsasalita sa kanya na, huy, kailangan mo itong i-adapt. It's a good technology. At kahit hindi niya naintindihan, at alam ko hindi niya naintindihan, in-adapt niya itong polisiya na to dahil nga marami nagsasabi na okay to. So, doon ko nakikita that Trump is more open-minded compared to the last version of Trump. So, this is Trump 2.0. And I think that uh, naramdaman niya yung pulso ng bayang Amerika. Dahil nakita niya na marami sigurong tao doon ngayon ay pagod na sa problema ng mga illegal immigration. Marami mga tao doon din ay nahihirapan na dahil sa problema ng inflation. Mataas ang bilihin sa US at maraming tao na hindi na makapagbayad ng renta, nahihirapan na talaga at naramdaman niya yon. At kaya nakapag-resonate siya doon sa mga taong yon. Kaya yun ang rason kung bakit siya nanalo. What's your take?
Well, unang-una, hindi pa nabuo yung kanyang kabinete, no? Pero base sa nakikita natin, una-una yung grupo na tinatawag na Florida Boys, no? So si Walz, sa Defense Secretary, si Rubio, ito yung mga known China hawks at very conservative sila. I won't say, hindi ko sasabihin na new conservative ala George Bush na usugurin natin ibang bansa, palitan natin yung sistema nila, but hindi ito mga doves, no? Hindi ito mga tao na kumbaga mabait, no, or in-emphasize nila yung multilateralism. So talagang dapat maging realistic tayo na pagdating dun sa mga top officials ni Donald Trump, ito yung mga medyo matapang na kausap, no. So hindi tayo dapat magtataka kung behind the scenes sasabihin nila sa Pilipinas, oh eto na, China na yung kalaban, ha, wag na kayo magpadalos-dalos. Tapos dun sa mga ibang ASEAN countries na nag-hedge, nagpe-fence sitter, o pumili na kayo at pumila na kayo, di ba, kung ano yung mangyari. So yun yung realistic. And then andun din yung tinatawag na South Africa boys. No? So sa Teal, all the Rhodesia, Namibia, pero may South African background yan, si Elon Musk obviously at saka si Sachs, a little bit less known, pero tatlo sila. Ito naman ang mga, well, tipo mo yan mga libertarian, anti-regulation, deregulation, Bitcoin, lahat mga bagay na yan. So ibang flavor na naman yan. And then the JD Vance naman, ito yung mga medyo insulationist, isolationist, ayaw nila sa free trade, ibalik yung mga industriya, so more cultural, MAGA, strong family values. So sa loob mismo ng kabinete niya, forget about yung MAGA movement, marami po yung mga tendencies. Pangalawa, yung dapat titignan natin dito is hindi lang naman si Trump ang nanalo eh. Republicans yung nanalo sa Senado, malaki yung agwat.
Mm.
Sa akin palagay, isang dahilan na pinili na lang si Marco Rubio is dahil kahit mawalan sila ng isang senador, malakas pa rin sila. Kasi kung if ever close yung fight sa Senado, hindi ka pwede pumili ng isang senador kasi mawawalan ka ng
Yep.
paraha eh, 'di ba? So ibig sabihin kampante sila sa Senado, tapos sa Kongreso mukhang almost sure na rin na mananalo mga Republicans. And then isama mo pa yung Supreme Court kung saan tatlo diyan ina-appoint ni Trump. So ito yung pinaka-conservative na Supreme Court including pinaka-Catholic na Supreme Court. I think 5 or 6 members ito ay conservative Catholic. So more conservative pa kay Pope Francis type. So pag nilagay mo lahat ng mga elements dyan, tapos great as ever, comeback, and marami pa rin mga kaso laban kay Trump. May mga standing cases pa. As we speak, yung Department of Justice ay nagre-retrench na sila kasi magkikick in na yung immunity ni Trump dahil sa Supreme Court ruling. So honestly, hindi ko masabi kung maging mas mabait siya eh. Para sa akin, ang tanong dito is anong version lalabas? Kasi kung all the way Trump ang mangyari, so kanina tinitignan ko yung analysis. Sabi ni J.D. Vance, yung isang estimate nila, annually pwede sila mag-deport ng 1 million illegal migrants. At paano nila gagawin yan? Mukhang uunahin pa nila. Ito yung logistics. So kanina pinapakinggan ko yung mga logistics. Yung isang logistics yan is uunahin nila yung mga illegal immigrants na galing sa mga bansa na willing mag-readmit ng mga taong to. So clearly, hindi ito Venezuela. Because kung umalis ka sa Venezuela, traidor ka
Yep.
essentially. Hindi ito Brazil. Brazil only allows 1 or 2 repatriation flights every month. So yung mga unahin nila yung Honduras,
Pilipinas.
Nicaragua, Central, Haiti, yung mga ganito. So, dapat hindi tayo magtataka na magkakaroon ng mass deportation. One estimate put it at out to 200,000 in the first 100 days. So, Trump, hindi ako magtataka na this time, mas seryoso sila. And one person hindi natin pinag-usapan is si Stephen Miller, na napaka-hardline na itong tao na to sa issue ng immigration. Kung hindi kayo naniwala sa akin, panoorin nyo siya. At isa ito sa mga tao na nag-promote yung tinatawag na Project 2025. So ito yung proyekto ng
Okay.
Trump administration na talagang baguhin yung Amerika, no? Yung
Wow.
paano Amerika baguhin yung kanyang pwesto sa mundo. So to be honest, hindi ako kampante sa idea na maging more mild to. If anything, sa aking palagay, ito ay siguro simula ng bagong new chapter sa US dahil si Trump ay magte-transition leader na siya because after 4 years, he cannot run again. So si J.D. Vance talaga is waiting in the wings. So hindi ako magtataka. Actually, big things may happen in the next 3, 4 years. Now, kung masaya ka doon, including baka libo-libong mga Pilipino na TNT ay mapapal,
Right.
okay sa'yo yan. Good for you. Kung okay sa'yo na medyo ma-pressure tayo na maging clearly anti-China na tayo at sumali tayo sa Amerika, well, good for you. At pagdating naman sa issue ng inflation, mahina talaga yung strategy ni Kamala because sa tingin ko masyado niya na overemphasize yung cultural issue and abortion issue because yung abortion
Yes.
issue actually ay na settle siya at the level of the state. On the ballot was the issue of abortion and in 7 out of 10 states nanalo actually yung pro-abortion rights at the level of state constitution. So actually si Kamala Harris napaka nag-underperform, napaka nag-underemphasize ng issue ng economy and immigration at
Mhm.
talaga siya nakagat. Dapat nga for instance, yung issue ng inflation. Lahat ng mundo nagkaroon ng inflation over the past 2 years dahil sa war sa
Right.
Ukraine, etc. In fact, yung inflation in US by 2, 3, 4%. Hindi ko sinasabi okay yan. Ang sinasabi ko, unfair naman, i-blame mo lang si Biden sa lahat yan. Hindi ko sinasabi na hindi incompetent si Biden. Hindi ko sinasabi na ganun-ganun. Pero sa akin palagay, may kahinaan talaga sa kampanya yung team ni Kamala Harris. Masyadong elitist yung kanilang very elitist, very suburban, liberal, elite
Yep.
yung kanilang positioning. Very cultural, hindi masyado binigyan ng attention ng mga issue na yan. So kaya kanina pinapakinggan ko pa yung mga in-interview na Puerto Ricans. Nasabi na kahit na inis sila kay Kill Tony, dun sa mga joke niya na basura daw ang Puerto Rico, okay pa rin sila kasi sa tingin nila, Trump at the end of the day ay mas aligned sa kanilang values at sa tingin nila baka Trump dahil businessman things will be better. So what I'm saying is, may mga vibes diyan, pero ang dapat talaga
Yep.
titingnan mo yung momentum, yung kabinete, yung ideology, at saka yung mga magiging influential na tao, si Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance,
Yep.
Elon Musk, Marco Rubio. Walang mild sa kanila eh. None of these guys
Yeah.
are mild, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing eh. That's what I've been saying eh. Malalakas sa mga personalidad ng mga to eh. The people around him are very opinionated, very strong opinions. And they don't all will get along. And I'm telling you, the different factions in the Trump cabinet, in the Trump presidency will clash with each other. And that's a good thing. That will keep everyone in check. Not everyone will agree with everything, and that's a good thing. Now, yung nabanggit mo nga dito, alam mo, one of the key things that I think that made Trump win is not just Trump himself. It's because nga he was talking policies. He was talking issues. And that's why pag tinignan mo nga, maraming Republicans nanalo ngayon. Kasi nga, it's Republicans generally all agreed ito ang issue na ihaharap natin. And tama ka talaga doon. Ang problema nung kay Kamala Harris is hindi niya binanggit yung paano niya aayusin yung problema ng inflation. At yun ang palaging pinag-uusapan sa US ngayon eh. Yung $34 trillion debt that keeps ticking. They're doing like what, 8 billion a day in interest payments. Umaakit yung, meron silang, di ba meron sila yung debt timer. Nakita mo talagang pumapatak yung pataas yung utang nila. And now, Trump has Elon Musk saying that, I don't know if it's true or not, na magiging parang efficiency czar si Elon Musk doon. And he has a goal. He wants the debt to be cut na. Ayaw na niya tumaas pa yan, which is a good thing because nga, we are now at the point, we're at the precipice of kung hindi ng US ayusin yung problema nila ng national debt nila at nila maayos yung inflation issue nila, they will lose their position as the global reserve currency. And na-erode na nga yun slowly. So pag matuloy yun, wala na. Then the US as a superpower, they will lose their status as the global reserve currency. Mag-iiba na talaga yan. So kaya importante yung
Pero bro,
gagawin ni Trump dito.
ang problema kasi I mean, again, agree ako na hindi pwede abusuin yung US dollar dahil yun ang global currency. Ang problema kasi dyan is, panahon ni Trump, dahil sa tax cuts niya nung first time, actually umakyat yung kanilang utang. Kasi, paano ka nagbabayad ng utang? Doon sa buwis. So kung nagbigay ka ng malalaking tax cut sa mga billionaires, saan ka kuha ng buwis? Doon sa mga mahihirap na tao? Hindi klaro sa akin yung mathematics doon eh. At
Yep.
kung tuloy pa rin yung deregulation at saka tax breaks nila sa mga billionaires, kaya tuwan-tuwa yung mga ibang billionaires in
Yes.
Silicon Valley, to be honest, nasan yung mathematics doon? So I'm not very sure about the mathematics of that. But yung vibes, siguro yung vibes gusto nila. Speak of Elon Musk, I won't be surprised ng solution lang niya to fire half of the people in the bureaucracy. Right? Tinatawag nila na deep state. Now, sino i-replace nila? Mga MAGA loyalists, mga version nila ng DDS, hindi ko alam. Kung ma-fire ba nila, or hindi ko alam. At saka, natakot ako ng konti kasi ngayon kahit sino mag-oppose kay tatawagin sa'yo deep state. Parang sa Pilipinas,
Right.
basta mag-no ka sa Duterte, dilawan ka na. Alam mo yung gano'n, yung
Right.
oligarch ka na. So, delikado yung mga ganin na positioning. Pero at the end of the day, mali din talaga ng Democrats. Matagal na namin sinasabi na talagang dapat i-explain mo bakit ganito yung... At saka sabi ko nga, pinakamalaking problema ni Kamala, nagmarohas siya eh. Dapat talaga, pag
Yes.
tumatakbo ka, huwag mo i-depensa yung incumbent kung alam mo naman napaka-anti-incumbency yung mood. Obvious naman, napaka-unpopular ni Biden. Whether it's you agree or not, unpopular siya. So, sasabihin mo sa The View na there's not a single thing that comes to my mind that I would regret or change. Sobrang mali po yan. You could have said, Biden, he did this great, he's a patriot, etc. Pero sisiguraduhin ko na ma-improve natin ito, na I'll have
Right.
another four. Wala, she didn't even try. So, hindi ko alam ano pa talagang nangyari sa loob ng kampanya na hintayin ko yung mga analysis ng what went wrong inside the Democratic campaign strategy. Something is really off there. Sobrang off talaga.
Well, I have to add, Richard, that ako lang mismo for me lang, Kamala never came across to me as a very charismatic person. Yun lang. Wala siya masyadong charisma for me. So I have a feeling that also affected it. Could I be wrong with that? I don't know what
Yeah, I mean,
people think.
well, how many primaries did she win?
She didn't because remember, she was
Exactly,
literally parang
zero, right? I
appointed
mean,
na nga eh.
so, medyo, ano lang siya eh, she was the
Last minute
competition.
replacement siya eh. Kasi wala na silang choice. It was so late in the game na dala nga point, what are they going to do? Do the primaries and then
Yun nga,
kulang na ng time.
too late na rin. Oh, pero ito ganito So dalawang argument dito. Yung isa, at ito yung nagiging dominant argument, kasalanan lahat ni Biden yan. Na hindi lang
Ah,
palpakan niya, masyado siyang late, pinilit niya hanggang obvious na hindi pwede. Pero meron na isang argument. Actually, sila Scaramucci, yung mga ibang tao are also putting forward. Kung sana pinatakbo ni Obama si Biden noong 2015-16 pa lang, baka iba ng kasaysayan ng mundo ngayon. Dahil wag
yeah.
natin kalimutan, Biden won 81 million votes. Na alam ko yung mga friends natin in multiverse, cheating yan, etc. Hindi. Natalo talaga si Trump. I mean, etong ridiculous argument. Sasabihin mo na nung si Trump ang presidente, nagdaya ng 6 million votes sa mga, tapos ngayon na presidente ng Democrats, hindi sila makapagdaya. I mean, ridiculous yan. But anyway, I think Biden would have been a strong candidate back in 2016. And 2020, well, he pulled it through. So, I don't know. Siguro, kasalanan ni Obama yan. Para sa akin, mas kasalanan pa ni Obama yan. Pinilit niya talaga yung kanyang version ng gusto niya sa Amerika. Pinilit niya si Hillary Clinton, and then eto ngayon naman, protege din niya si Kamala Harris. Kasi ang focus ni Obama parati representation eh. Wala naman akong problema sa representation. Ang issue ko lang is, kung karamihan ng mga Amerikano, mas concern nila yung inflation, immigration, security, mga ganon, mahirapan ka talaga manalo ng sapat na boto eh.
Yeah. Pero,
So,
pero aha.
I think Obamaism was defeated in these elections more than anything else.
Well, here's a question though, Richard. I mean, if you think about it, who else would they have been able to field this late in the game?
Governor Shapiro, malakas, magaling.
Ah,
I have like three or four the governors in mind that could have done better than her. I mean, who knows? Baka
right.
may matinitayong I mean, Buttigieg, I don't know. I mean, ang point ko is, sigurado tayo na si Kamala was not necessarily the strongest candidate put forward.
No.
For me, my favorite candidate would have been Elizabeth Warren, but she's too lefty for many Americans. But that's my end. She's a woman. This is not about gender. I'd rather have someone like Elizabeth Warren. Hindi naman issue to ng gender eh. Competence ang issue dito eh.
Mm.
Consistency. And I'll ask you this. Do you think na sobrang mali din yung communication strategy ni Kamala Harris? Sounds familiar. Umaasa lang sa mga A-list celebrity, mga Oprah, mga ganon, and then hindi nagpakita dun kay Joe Rogan. Kasi Joe Rogan, I think, was one of the clinchers
Yeah.
of elections.
As a matter of fact, I don't know why. Well, I guess I kind of know why she didn't do the interview. But honestly, kasi sa akin, I've always been the type na if you really are speaking your truth as authentically as you can, pwede, kaya mong humarap na kahit kanino. Wala kang tatakutan. Kahit na anong banat sa'yo. Yun eh. Yun, and the fact that she didn't do it. And Joe Rogan gave her that chance. Kaya Joe Rogan, although Joe Rogan, I know naman na he always liked Trump. Hindi lang niya masabi dati kasi nga tatakot siya baka ma-cancel din. Pero nung nakita niya that the tide was turning and then bam, turn na siya
Yung
last
Bernie
minute.
bro siya eh. Bernie bro. I think he's an anti-system guy. Gustong-gusto
Yeah,
niya si Bernie
sure.
Sanders. And then si
Sure.
RFK, dito syempre mas anti-system si Trump, 'di ba? So ano siya eh, he's a free-spirited guy. So,
Yeah.
that's how I understand this.
Yeah, and not just that, the fact that RFK nga endorsed Trump na, so sama na siya. Kasi uy, RFK endorsed, Elon Musk endorsed. He likes those guys, he gets along with them, bam, o sige, join na ako. Yun eh, at the end of the day. And that's where Kamala really lost out. And for me, to begin with nga, from day one, I never thought Kamala was a strong candidate, but I thought that the machinery should be able to pull it through. But then nakikita mo nga that the sentiments were not in her favor because she never addressed the key issues. Inflation was a key issue. Even in the Philippines, that's a major issue right now. Diba? That's one of the most important issues that people want to talk about, itong inflation natin dito sa Pilipinas. So, that is the global problem that needs to be addressed and they just never bothered addressing it. And add to that, like with Kamala, no, they were focusing on wow, they were focusing on topics that were not. I don't want to actually. I'm trying to not be controversial with my statement, pero
Kasi hindi central sa pangailangan ng mga ibang Amerikano.
yeah,
I mean, there's a reason why
exactly.
she did so well among Latinos. I mean, I'm talking about Trump, sorry. He did so well among Latinos, among Asian Americans, among Filipino Americans for that matter. Ay dahil dito talaga sa he went back to the basics. Now, I also agree na minsan parang unfair na yung standards na ginagamit dun sa mga Democratic candidates, especially kung babae, hindi same standards kay Trump. Like you can say everything about Kamala, but honestly, you want to talk about honesty and family values and all. You want to talk about Trump's convicted, but it is what it is. It's anti-incumbency. Anti-incumbency. So, an
Yeah.
anti-incumbency situation, talaga may leeway si Trump na wala si Kamala. So, he became the candidate of change, in short.
Yep.
People wanted
And
change, and he was the candidate of change. As simple as that.
yeah, but then again, remember that magaling din yung pag-messaging ng Trump on the Republican side, na parang they blamed the problem of inflation all on Joe Biden. But in reality, the problem of inflation was interpresidential eh. Throughout the entire American history, there was always a problem with inflation since the time of Richard Nixon in the 1970s, when the US dollar was taken off the gold standard. Yung pa lang, pag tinignan mo actually yung graph ng inflation, as soon as the US was taken off the gold standard, gumanyan ang inflation. Talagang bam! Shoots up. So, hindi ko mabiblame si Biden entirely for that. And plus, even when Trump was president, remember, I mean, there were already the signs of the problems happening, and then na-inherit pa niya yung COVID, yung pandemic. Pero I thought Biden did very well during the pandemic, where that's where Trump lost nung time na yon, kasi he did so poorly in his pandemic response. Kaya si Biden na nanalo nung time na yun, because di ba ang palpak ni Trump, tapos as soon as Biden won, what did he do? Gave out all dole-outs, all this money, flowed into the system, boom, lalo pa tumaas ang inflation. So
So yung kay
now,
Trump kasi yung mga cheque na binigay, doon yung pangalan niya eh. Yun din na naalala ng ibang voters eh.
oh
Parang
wow, I didn't know that.
style. Oh!
Oh, I didn't
Yung
know that.
lola kong isa nasa Hawaii, no, sabi, ito, check namin from Trump. Kasi talaga nakalagay Donald Trump. Ganun. $1,000, $2,000 check. So, yun din na naalala na maraming mga... So, but let's not exaggerate this. Trump won 50% of the votes. 50.4%. It's not like he won 70%, 80%, 90%. Kamala won 48%. So, actually, in terms of popular vote, hindi nagkakalayo. But, obviously, electoral college is what matters at lahat ng
Yes.
battleground states na nalo si Trump. So, galing. Realignment talaga nangyari. Ang dami mga counties from Miami to Texas
Yep.
na lahat ng mga pro-Democrat talaga na flip ni Trump. So, in fairness to the Trump campaign, I think they did a very good job on that. I want to ask one more thing on this before transition na tayo sa Pilipinas. So, kanina, tinitignan ko yung mga datos, no? So, apparently, Philippines Philippines is the most pro-Trump country on earth if you look at the Pew survey. So he had more than 83, 84% approval rating, when in Europe he was like 20, 30%. So ang ka-level
Wow.
lang ng Philippines is Israel and South Korea, slightly behind us or almost tied.
Wow.
Pero Philippines is the most pro-Trump. And then, ang daming, kanina may kausap tayo na nag-survey din sila sa Pilipinas at more pro-Trump ang mga Filipino nandito kaysa doon. And then, ang lakas din ng pro-Trump sa mga Filipino-Americans. So I want to ask you, bro, is the Philippines a kind of a Reagan-Trump center-right nation? Because that's always the sense that the Philippines is a more right-wing conservative nation always than a center-left. Na, kaya I'm not surprised na Trump or Reagan or whatever they've been doing well. Ikaw, what is your read of that?
Well, I think the fact that we at one point we voted for Duterte shows you the inclination of Filipinos to be more right of center than left of center in that sense. Pero at the same time, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, kasi remember that we're a very religious country, right? And a lot of the things that Trump was talking about was very pro-religion and the religious values. So yung pa lang, nakukuha na niya yung mga sentimento ng mga Pilipino. Doon pa lang, number one. Number two, yun na nga, yung naintindihan ng mga Pilipino yung plight ng mga Amerikano when it comes to crime, 'di ba? Kaya nga nanalo si Duterte noong time na 'yon. Ang nagbago lang ngayon is na-realize siguro ng karamihan nga sa atin ay hindi naman kailangan magkaroon nitong selective vigilante style of justice para magkaroon ng peace and order, especially ngayon na nakikita naman natin nga na peace and order can be had without the killings. So, doon nakapag-relate ang mga Pilipino kay Trump in that sense. And siguro, I mean, maybe Filipinos just love a more of a celebrity type
Yeah,
of
I
a
think the
guy.
show, man. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Ang
yun
dami
eh.
nag-post yung mga, di ba, Miss Universe. Miss Universe.
Yup.
Nag-post yung mga candidates dati, yung mga... You're right. I think from Reagan to Trump also both were Hollywood celebrities, right? So you're absolutely right. There's a showbiz factor in as much
Yup.
as you're right, Catholic Christian values. Mismo, I 100% agree with you on that. And then, although, ang dami nagalit sa akin when sabi niya, how dare you compare Duterte and Trump? Parang sabi ko, dahil blonde yung isa, tapos yung isa, I mean, I'm saying, like, you cannot be shallow. We're not talking about yung shallow level. You're talking about style of politics. Anti-system
Yes.
sila pareho. Now, tama ka naman. Sana naman wala nang mga kakaibang mangyari sa ilalim ni Trump. Kumpara ka naman kay Duterte. Kasi ang dami nagagalit na pro-Trump sa akin. How dare you compare? Kasi ang dami akong kilala na pro-Lenny and pro-Duterte. Ay, pro-Trump eh.
Yes.
Ang dami nila bro.
Yes.
Dumami pa sila ngayon. Proud na proud pa sila na Trump sila.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let me add to that kasi Richard, that I think kasi they don't see kasi Trump like the way kasi the DDS view Duterte as a killer nga eh. And they like that about him. Now, when you support Trump and then you say, let's say I support Trump and then you said that, it'll make me feel like, but I don't support Duterte because I don't support that style. I'm just saying that I like how he sounds because of what he wants to do. Yun. And I relate to that. So, nakaka-insulto for you to say that kasi then you're telling me na parang, so that means that I support like yung mga tipong si Duterte and you're matching him with Duterte. But I think they don't understand the nuance of what you're saying. That is the strong man personality. It doesn't mean that he's exactly like Duterte. As a matter of fact, I think that, yeah, they're very different in a lot of ways. Pero they have that
yeah, Trump never drinks, never smokes, never drugs, nothing. I don't know about Digong. Wala akong sinasabi, but
But yeah, you're right. So, yun lang I think is where the sensitivity comes in. So, but generally, I've always been the type na kahit sino manalo, I'm always willing to be hopeful and give the person the benefit of the doubt and the chance to be able to prove whether they can be okay for the country or not. And no matter what, listen, the U.S. democracy is so strong that I don't think Trump will be able to implement as much as he'd want just on his own. Much like in his last term when he was president, he tried to implement a lot of things, but a lot of things that he wanted were not all getting through din naman because maraming labanan pa rin yan within the government agencies and with the other co-equal branches of government. Even if the only thing is yun na nga, medyo ang dami talagang Republicans ngayon sa legislative branch and even the judicial branch, but um I'd still like to believe that there are a lot of constitutional safeguards that are in place that are strong enough to be able to hold back from an authoritarian to be able to get rid of the constitution like that.
yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying na hindi ako masyadong convinced na maging mild siya dahil yung isa sa mga natutunan niya yung first time niya, ang dami magre-resist sa kanya. Kaya this time, dun sa Schedule F, marami siya i-fire ng mga deep state. But
Right.
at the same time, tama ka rin dahil federal system ang US, lalaban yung mga Democrats at the federal level. Dahil
Yep.
maraming governors na Democrat, Michigan, Pennsylvania, California, lalaban mga yan. I think Gavin Newsom made it clear na he's gonna resist kung sa tingin niya is yung mga gagawin ni Trump ay beyond the pale base sa pag-intindi nila ng saligang batas ng Amerika. So, we are in for some very interesting years. Let's see anong mangyayari dito sa jiu-jitsu back and forth because half of the nation still more or less didn't vote for Trump. He won 50%, 0.4. So, parang Brexit yan. Sobrang narrow yung split. And sa akin
Yep.
pala, natalo rin si Kamala dahil daming disappointed din sa kanila na bumoto kay RFK na pumunta kay Trump, bumoto kay Joel Stein na I think 0.6%. So when you put those elements together, it's essentially 50-50. So more like a grievance na naman. I think it was a protest vote also in many ways na kaya hindi nanalo si Kamala. But balikan natin ang Pilipinas kasi ang tanong sa akin ngayon is ano bang hindi ba nakikita natin ngayon na yung mga populist pwede talaga mag-comeback? Kahit mukhang laos na sila. I mean, last year at this time, mukhang laos si Trump. Di ba? Ay, wala na yan. Ano yan? Grabe na. Ang daming kaso, ganun, ganun. And then, unti-unti naging inevitable na siya. From done deal to inevitable is quite a huge change in just 1 year. And sa akin palagay, to be honest, I won't be surprised kung mag-survive itong mga Dutertes until 2026. By 2027, they will have what Trump had over the past year. Biglang they'll come back with a vengeance. And tingnan mo Thailand, Thaksin. The father was the prime minister in the 1990s, early 2000s. Then the sister. Now the daughter. Pabalik.
Yeah.
Berlusconi, Italy. Nawala, bumalik. And then nung matanda na, nag-replace yung iba. Sila George Melon. So, ang sinasabi ko dito is, huwag maging complacent na laos yung mga populist na naging malakas. By the way, lest people forget, pag hindi tumakbo si Pinoy, ang nanalo dapat noong 2010 ay si Erap Estrada. Siya yung number 2 in 2010 elections. Naalala mo? Si Erap nag-number 2, pare. So, pwede maging presidente ulit si Erap noong 2010 kung hindi tumakbo si Pinoy. So, even sa ating kasaysayan, meron tayong presidents kung saan isang populist leader na disgraced, convicted plunderer,
Right.
tapos na forgive, pagbalik muntik na nalo ulit. So ako, I'm realistic. I think still the Dutertes are a force to reckon with. Maybe not now and next year, pero pwede bumalik 2026, 2027 unless yayarin na sila in the next year or so on the
Right.
Quadcom drug issue. And yun ang gusto kong tanongin sa'yo.
Well, okay, here's my take on it. Just tama yung mga points na binanggit mo. That there's always a possibility na makakabalik pa, let's say, mga Duterte's back in power. But here is where the difference is. Kaya nakabalik si Trump is not just because of how what he did politically, yung mga maneuvering na ginawa niya at yung mga statements niya. Also, it was the undoing of the Democrats. They also caused this, much in the same way that I hate to say this, pero it's true, that the rise of Duterte was also because of the undoings of Pinoy when it comes to security. We talked about this in our last podcast na yung problem kasi nga is nineglect niya yung security issues at marami siyang mga lapses sa security, and that's what gave rise to the Duterte types. Ngayon,
Traffic. Ang daming problema.
yeah,
Traffic, infrastructure, ang daming
yung
inayos.
laglag bala, yung gano'n, tanim bala. So there's a lot eh. Pero at the same time, now, with Marcos naman, with what he's doing, so far, tama yung mga ginagawa niyang steps. He's addressing a lot of issues that are very close to Filipinos. And nakikita mo that he's allowing the system to work. And it looks like it's working. Primarily, at least, window dressing niya maganda. It looks like it's working. I'll give you a very good example of, napanood mo ba kanina? Wala ko napanood mo. Yung Malacanang press con na ginawa nila kanina with John Vic Remulla.
Ay, hindi ko napanood para kasi kanina Trump lang. Go ahead. You have the
Okay.
stage, brother. Inform
So
us.
here's the thing about this one that's really interesting. Yung Malacanang press conference na ginawa. First time ko nakita, nagkaroon sila ng press con in a very long time. And ang ganda ng pagkagawa with the lights and sounds, the bells and whistles, the AVPs, and then John Vic Remulla comes out. And John Vic Remulla, for people that don't know, is the new DILG chief, right? At ito na, binanggit niya yung mga nakita niyang problema when it comes to do sa Bilibid prison, and napansin nila that the drug lords and drug dealers in Bilibid are still active in the drug trade that's proliferating all over the Philippines. In-address niya yun. The fact that they even addressed it tells you that they're serious about fighting this. Fighting it legally and with force in the right way. So that is a great signal. And John Vic has very big shoes to fill. Kaya ang ganda talaga nung timing niya nito.
Brother, can I rewind a little bit on that? Because I think perfect segue yan. Because matagal na namin sinasabi yan. Kami nila Ronald, RM, bati tayo dun sa mga discussion natin na medyo hilaw yung messaging ni BBM na parang mga Duterte pa rin na nagdo-dominate. Sila yung nagdidictate ng terms ng essentially the fight, di ba? Na that's always the number one rule. Do not allow yung kalaban na mag-dictate ano yung terms of engagement. Dapat ikaw may masabi ka. So, last week, isa sa mga na-appreciate ko sa Quadcom is yung ginawa ni Congressman Barbers na kinompare niya, di ba? Ito yung number of operations ni Digong, ito yung number of operations, ito yung daming namatay dito wala masyado. Ito, marami pa rin kami na confiscate. So parang clear juxtaposition, di ba? Sabi ko sana lang, hindi lang dalawang admin para hindi mo kang BBM siya. Kung sana 3-4 na admin, tapos ipakita mo, kay Digong, bara-bara lang. At, you know, sobrang appreciate. Sabi ko, yan ang dapat gawin ng Malacanang. Yan ang dapat message nila. Anong polvoron kayo ng polvoron? Kayo ang polvoron, patay ka ng patay. Hindi naman na-solve yung drug problem. Kami, maayos, surgical, kalim. Ganda nung sinabi ni Barbers. So, I'm glad that you're saying, ginagawa rin ng iba yan. Mukhang they're getting their thing together, no?
Yeah, so what's interesting is, remember, si Marcos himself doesn't say much. Di ba? Ini-interview siya, hindi siya sasagot, hindi siya ngingiti lang, no comment palagi. Pero, what's good is, he allows the different departments of government to speak. He puts them in the forefront. I really like, and by the way, I'm not a fan of John Vic Remulla. Okay, because of especially the fact that he's with Cavite and there was a big pogo in Cavite. I always had my doubts with his sincerity with the work. Pero nung lumabas siya sa press con niya at nagsalita siya ng ganon laban sa droga, that was a strong statement. And he's very eloquent. John Vigramula is a very eloquent guy. So he said it plainly para maintindihan ng lahat ng mga tao what he plans to do. Number one, would believe it. And then he goes, then the next problem we have is that the drug war is actually a lot of importations. So there's a big leak with the importation we know about. Nang problema nung panahon ni Duterte ay
China
pinabayaan
talaga
niya
yan
yun.
eh.
Well, yun na nga eh, kasi nga, di ba nga, isipin mo, kaya nga, magdududa ka kung talagang sincere si Duterte sa drug war niya. Kasi nga, nung panahon niya, remember, binuksan nga niya yung port ng Davao to Chinese military ships with nothing inside. Chinese Navy boats coming in with nothing inside.
So
Parang,
wala
whoa,
tayong
what's going on?
agreement sa mga, remember, yung dahilan na meron tayong visiting forces agreement or status of force is just in case, God forbid, yung isa sa mga Amerikano may nangyari sa kanila or nag-rape sila, meron kang legal framework. So ibig
Yes,
sabihin,
eto wala.
imagine, no, pumapasok, wala man lang legal framework. Paano kung napatay yung isa, may pinatay, may na-rape. So sobrang bara-bara, suspicious
Yep.
talaga si Digong, brother.
Yeah, and you saw that how Digong did it before was talagang there was no rule of law. It was his law or no law. And yun ang chaos na nangyari nung panahon ni Digong. Now, then, so binanggit ni John Vic Remulla nga na, okay, so these are the two problems you have with drugs. These are on the top level. And he was even explaining na yung labanan kasi hindi dahil sa mga pushers. Ang problema natin is nandito yan na hindi na-address sa taas. Ngayon, na-address na natin. And I was like, wow, to be able to do a press con and say that, I hope you're going to be able to walk the walk because you have just declared that you're going to do it. If they succeed in doing it, Marcos administration is going to even be stronger and more popular than it. Like, I mean, it's going up in popularity, but now, tama yung mga steps na ginagawa nila. So what I'm saying is that the right, if Sara Duterte ever decides to run, so far what I'm seeing is that Marcos is addressing all the ills of our society enough to be able to make the people trust him and his administration. That if Duterte's decide to make a comeback, they try, mahihirapan sila on that end. So on the doing and undoing of the current administration. On the other side, remember that the problem kasi with like Trump had a comeback because that's Trump. So it's the same person. Digong is not gonna run again. He can't.
Anak niya,
Now,
so it's Sarah, yeah.
right. And now you're talking about the next of kin. The problem with next of kin is, do they have the same charisma? No, it's obvious they don't. They carry the last name, and maybe the last name is good enough. I don't know. Pero from the way I see it, Fiona right now, magaling yung ginagawa ng mga ano ha. Ng mga,
Wait, let me clarify. Are you referring to?
well, apparently I just realized kasi nga pinaalala lang pala sa akin that don't say my name, don't put my name in your mouth. Di ba? May ganun palagi that never speak my name. May ganun. So kaya, let's just call her na lang Fiona para, I mean, I just wanna abide by her wishes. Sabi niya, wag daw gagamitin yung pangalan niya.
Ayun,
Ibabanggit yung pangalan niya. So,
grabe.
and I couldn't think
Sabi
of
mo,
another
Sarah
name.
without H. Sarah without H.
Right. Okay. So anyway, so yun yung point ko dito is that si Fiona kasi, hindi siya as charismatic and ang dami niyang blunders ngayon. Which we're gonna get to, I'm sure. We're gonna be talking about that. Pero ang dami niyang blunders right now that she's going through.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. So
Well,
yun.
I mean, di ba I said she's a poor copy of an originally poor
Right.
product.
And then tell me something. You really think Baste is better? Kulong? Oh my God.
Si
Lord.
Baste nga na-demote sa vice mayor na pinapabawas.
Exactly. Tapos ito ang problema niya ngayon. Si Digong sinasabi, ayaw na nga niya magpolitika. Pagod na nga daw siya. And he's running for mayor and he's saying he doesn't even want to do it. How do you win an election when you yourself are saying, I don't want to do it? So people aren't, I'm telling you, Richard, if Digong loses 2025, the election for mayor, there you go. That's
Kaya nga my
things to
point
come.
is, if the just to be clear, lahat ng sinasabi namin dito ay analysis, hindi ito endorsement or moral
Right.
judgments. Para sa akin, mahina yung communications ni BBM so far, not only because BBM himself ay masyadong tahimik, blah blah blah, pero pati yung mga tao niya medyo kapos. Until now na medyo gumagalaw na kay Barbers, ngayon kay Remulla, ganun. So, una-una sa level ng communication, siguro may mga matutunan din sila sa ginawa ng, I mean, saan yung mga troll nila? Ay, sorry. Saan yung mga vloggers nila? Saan influencers nila? Di ba? Kailangan mo yan kasi ano yun eh, it's about shaping public opinion. So, medyo mahina sila sa communication strategy. Pero tamang sanabi mo, mukhang bumabawi na sila habang lumalapit tayo sa elections. Pangalawa naman dito kay Digong, agree ako sa'yo. Delikado si Polong. I think hindi ako ma-surprise na manalo pa si Migs Nograles. Sa mayor, yes, I think Duterte can eke out the victory here, but for how long can he, hold on? He doesn't look like his best. I think he's more like Biden than Trump when it comes to
Yep.
aging so far. Although I would say Biden is still far, more. Si Biden mas okay pa kay tatay. I mean, again, I don't want to be unfair here, but so may limitation, tama ka. The difference will be it will be Sara. Nevertheless, kasi ang pansin ko sa mga Dutertes pares, meron talaga silang hatak, hindi lang sa Davao. Meron silang Vismin. Yung Mindanao base
Yep.
sila solid talaga eh. So, if nothing is done about that, pwede nilang gawin ulit yan as a locomotive to rebuild again a
Mm.
pan-Bisaya vote base. So, hindi ko sinasabi na mangyayari ito. Ang dami nagagalit sa Richard, ito ka na naman, binibigyan mo ng pag-asa yung mga DDS. Sabi ko, hindi. Ang sinasabi ko lang, exactly katulad siya. Kung complacent yung mga liberals, kung hindi na gagawin yung assignment nila, and then kung si BBM doesn't see this through, and we all know what I mean here, baka yayarin siya. Kasi kung makabalik ang mga Duterte, vengeance is my, na yan, my
Yeah,
motto.
yeah.
Talagang yayarin si BBM and all dyan. So, I'm just saying, crucial talaga the next 12 to 16 months na etong
Yes.
Quadcom. So, I wanna ask you, brother, dito sa Quadcom, anong basa mo dito sa last week nangyari? Can we break that down again? You are the hearing expert. So now, meat of discussion natin. Can we break down the Quadcom and then what's next? At in fairness dito, di ba, si Senator De Lima was good. This time,
Yes.
ayos siya. So nakinig siya sa atin. I'm
Yep.
sure, I think she, so ang galing. And of course, to be fair, hindi na siya surrounded ng factotum ni Duterte. So
Yes.
she could do her job. So now, can we break down that Quadcom meeting, brother? You're the expert.
Okay, so unang-una, no, they did the Quadcom hearing in two parts. They actually compartmentalized it very well. Eh. Yung first part was talking about the drug war and everything about the drug war. And then the second part, pinag-usapan nila yung mga EJ case. So, yung first part na to was interesting because yung resource person nila was si Rose Nonolin. Dinala din nila dito si Asierto at saka si Jimmy Guban. At yung mga pinag-usapan nila is yung ties ni Duterte with Michael Yang, with Alan Lim, and Johnson Chua to the drug trade. Let's talk particularly about Michael Yang and Alan Lim. Asierto kasi is claiming that Michael Yang is a drug lord and Alan Lim is a drug lord. So, two very different issues to. Number one, when I heard Asierto talk, I was saying this in one of my videos na hindi ako, pag pinakinggan ko lang si Asierto, lahat ng sinabi niya about Michael Yang being in the drug trade was based on his informant. That's it. He offered no other evidence to corroborate his informant's testimony. Kaya mahirap magpin or magkaroon ng legal case based on an informant and no other corroborative evidence. But ang magaling dito is, ayan, this is where Rose Nonolin comes in. Rose Nonolin is the wife of Lin Wei-Xiong, yung who they have as an alias as Alan Lim. Pero it was so weird to see Rose Nonolin deny na yung asawa niya is Alan Lim. She kept insisting that Lin Wei-Xiong is the husband and not Alan Lim. Pero nung pinakita yung picture ni Alan Lim, katabi ni Duterte at katabi ni Michael Yang, sasabihin niya, yeah, that's my husband, Lin Wei-Xiong, not Alan Lim. Pero sabihin niya, Sherto, that photo, that's Alan Lim. Everyone in PIDEA, every PNP official knows that's Alan Lim. Even Duterte knows that's Alan Lim. And Alan Lim and Michael Yang are close business associates. And apparently, dito sa Quadcom, lumalabas, there's a possibility, and looks like ipoprove to ng isang Quadcom member, na magpinsan pala itong dalawang to. Ngayon, Rose Nonolin is still claiming na hindi daw yan si Alan Lim. Which
Magpinsan
is
si Lin
weird.
and Michael Yang? Yang and Lin are pinsan?
Yes, apparently daw. So,
Ah.
pero ngayon, ang sinasabi kasi ni Rose Nonolin na yung nahuling, kasi nahuli si Alan Lim in a drug raid in 2003. Tapos, na-dismiss yung kaso on a technicality. Based on Section 21, yung the way they custody and looked at the evidence, sloppy yung paggagawa, and then they use that, so na-dismiss. Kaya sabi niya, kaya hindi daw yun si Alan Lim. Pero remember that, well, for most people, you don't know this, pero Rose Nonolin kasi only married Lin Wei-Xiong in 2009 na. So, 6 years after. Mayaman na daw siya. Sabi, tinanong, how'd you get your money? Oh, mayaman na yung asawa ko. So, ngayon, Rose Nonolin was talking about all her businesses. Ngayon, ito yung interesting. Binanggit niya lahat ng negosyo niya and all of them are holding companies, real estate companies, and non-operational companies. And A lot of the partners in these companies are all mainland Chinese. And inamin niya na business partner nga niya si Michael Yang. Ngayon, eto lang para sa akin. Michael Yang, we found out in this Quadcom hearing, is the owner of DCLA Plaza. DCLA Plaza is known by all the PIDEA to be one of the biggest hubs where a lot of drug dealing happens and drug pushing happens in that mall. Everyone knows it. So, and even the bodyguard of
Saan yun, brother?
Duterte
Saan yung DCLA?
sa Davao.
Davao.
Yeah. So, pati yung driver at bodyguard ni Duterte, sabi, yeah, Michael Yang owns DCLA Plaza. Everyone knows. He kept repeating it over and over. What the funny part is when the driver kept repeating it and the bodyguard repeated it, nakikita mo talagang, oh, shoot, so Michael Yang does own the plaza and a lot of drug dealing happens in that plaza. Now there's a connection between Michael Yang and the drugs that are going through in Davao. Plus, apparently, a lot of the shipping documents were prepared by Michael Yang, or at least that came from here to allow the shipments to go through. So kaya dito mo nakikita na, teka lang, meron natang connection talaga to. And then Las Cañas spoke. And if you looked at Las Cañas' testimony, it corroborated a lot of what Asierto was saying. And remember, Las Cañas and Asierto don't know each other. And yet the stories all corroborate.
Match. So na-triangulate
Yes.
siya. Exactly.
Yes, and
Hindi siya
then
coordinated, scripted.
absolutely. And hindi pa yun. Dagdag mo pa si Jimmy Guban, who's the Customs Intelligence Officer, who now corroborates the picture of yung mga magnetic lifters na nanggaling sa shipment, sa customs na biglang nawala. And then sinabi nga sa kanya na wag daw banggitin yung pangalan ni Michael Yang, ni Duterte, ni Man Scarpio, ni Pulong, dahil papapatay ka. Lahat yon. And then yung nagbanta sa buhay ni Jimmy Guban na pumasok sa loob ng Senado while he was detained is this reporter that's connected, obviously, he seems like a DDS. Tinanong siya, bakit ka ba pumasok at paano ka nakapasok? Gusto lang daw niya tanungin kung kumusta lang daw yung health ni Jimmy Guban. Well, it turns out na no, that's all BS. And you could tell the guy was lying. So, all of these things corroborated. Nakikita mo talaga, it paints a very clear picture that Michael Yang and Alan Lim are really close to Duterte and that's why they've never been tagged. And to just go back, Asierto kasi, kaya siya napunta sa hit list ni Digong because he came up with the first report. In that first report, sinabi niya, there's an Alan Lim and Michael Yang that's coming out in my report na mukhang drug lords. Then, hindi inaksyon na ng PNP. Ang nangyari, they ignored that report and nagalit si Duterte. And then the second report, dun niya na-realize niya, wait a minute, Michael Yang is the oh my God, Michael Yang's close to Duterte pala, kaibigan niya to. And Alan Lim. So he made the second report saying, we have a problem kasi I think Michael Yang and Alan Lim are connected to the president. And boom, it was at that point that Duterte, binantaan na yung buhay niya na kailangan siya ipapatay. And yung mga kasamahan ni Asierto ay namatay nga talaga. So dun mo nakita where the problem lies. And remember, Digong always defended Michael Yang. If somebody is supposed to, nagtataka kung drug lord to, bakit de-defend mo? Then iimbestigahan. No sacred cows, di ba? And then,
Hindi lang presidential advisor on economic affairs itong tao to.
Exactly.
He's a Chinese citizen. He doesn't have a business being a presidential advisor.
Exactly. So and then ito pa. And then binanggit pa niya that Michael Yang, hindi naman daw drug lord yan, drug addict lang daw yan. Oh, teka lang. You're saying he's a drug addict and you know that? And you talk about a drug when you're saying you hate addicts and katabi mo siya as your economic advisor? What's wrong with you?
Exactly.
Selective justice.
Yeah.
So, yun yung nangyari doon sa Quadcom. So, Rose Nonolin, litong-lito na siya. This was a really interesting moment in the Quadcom hearings eh. She kept denying that Alan Lim was her husband. Sabi niya, hindi yan daw yung asawa niya si Lin Wei-Xiong. Jinky Luistro, Congressman Luistro. Magaling to si Luistro eh. She goes, I have a question. So, nung tawag mo sa kanya sa bahay? Wei-Xiong? Xiong? Wei? Ano tawag mo? Baka may ibang pangalan. Ano ba? I mean, I don't know. Or, baby, what do you call him? Ganun, sabi ni Rose Nonolin. Well, his friends call him Jeffrey. This is where she slipped. Because at the start of the hearing, tinanong ni Congressman Dong Gonzales sa kanya, si Alan Lim, Lin Wei-Xiong, and all the other aliases, including Jeffrey Lim, siya ba yung asawa mo? And she goes, no, hindi. Yan ang asawa ko. Ang asawa ko si Lin Wei-shong. And then after 3 or 4 hours, nabanggit niya yung word na Jeffrey. And at the end of the hearing, the current PIDEA chief, I forget his name, the current PIDEA chief said, ito po yung mga aliases ni Lin Wei-shong. And lumabas ulit yung pangalan ni Jeffrey Lin or Jeffrey Lim. And doon nakita mo na nagsisinungaling itong si Rose Nonolin. And one thing that I'm surprised with the Quadcom, and I understand, pagod na sila eh. Bakit wala sa kanilang nakarinig nito, nagsabi, uy, teka lang, sinabi mo, so ibig sabihin, alam mo nga na siya pala yun. At hindi lang yun. Dapat talaga tanungin sa kanya, no? Kasi she keeps claiming that legit yung mga business niya. Remember, Farmally Pharmaceuticals different than from Farmally Biological yung kumpanya niya. Kaya hindi daw siya connected sa Farmally Pharmaceutical, iba daw yan. Pero yung incorporator ng Farmally Biological is the president of Farmally Pharmaceutical. And dinenay niya na may Farmally Holdings. Wala daw. And then nung binuksan yung SEC papers niya ni Dan Fernandez, lumabas doon that Farmally Biological was entirely owned by Farmally Philippine Holdings, who she kept denying existed. And the owner of Farmally Holdings na inamin niya is a Singaporean. The Singaporean's name is Wang Ziyan. Wang Ziyan. And then itong si Wang Ziyan is in Taiwan with his dad, Tony Wang, who's wanted and is already facing
Naalala ko nung
charges.
pandemic time sa hearings, lumalabas ng mga
Yeah.
nila. Yeah.
They were charged with securities fraud and stock manipulation. And yun na. So lumalabas na ito eh. Kaya nga, ang hirap i-deny talaga. Mahirap talaga i-deny yan. At alam natin talaga, makikita mo talaga na mukhang shell companies ang mga sineset up ni Rose Nonolin at sineset up niya daw para sa asawa niyang si Lin Wei-shong. Kasi kung tutuusin, pag tinanong mo siya, ano ba negosyo niyo? Sasabihin lang niya real estate. Eh paano kayo nagkakuha ng pera ng ganyang kalaki para magkaroon ng ganyang karaming real estate? Walang
Pagka-Alice
nagtanong sa
Go,
kanya nun.
may pagka-Alice Go vibes nang nangyari.
Yes.
Just to be clear about this, bro, no? Are we going, kasi yung barber's opening was essentially saying, yeah, maybe Duterte had good intentions, but the methodology was wrong, right? And this is how to do it properly. But base sa sinasabi mo, base sa pagkaalam natin, base sa mga lumalabas sa mga iba't ibang hearings, it's more like hindi rin tayo sigurado kung maganda talagang intention ni Digong. Hindi actually tayo sigurado kung war on drugs talaga nangyari. So medyo next level attack na siya, no?
Mm-hmm. And not just that. So that what I talked about the whole time was just the part one, and then yung part two was the EJ case.
Exactly.
This is where it gets interesting with the EJ case. So dumating na yung driver bodyguard ni Duterte from 1988 to 2008, 2 decades with Duterte. Sumipot sa Quadcom hearing si Sonny Benaventura na sobrang interesting tong character nito. You could tell he's a hardened policeman. Hardened talaga to na walang tinatakutan to, that he's seen a lot. You can tell by the way he talks. He sits there with such a calm, almost psychotic demeanor. Okay? It's almost like basta nakikita mo merong parang blankness in his eyes when I was looking at this on a Quadcom. And
Wala
then
siyang
siya yung
soul.
parang walang soul. No, I'm not kidding. Pag tinignan mo talaga, parang walang soul. Anyway, so he sits there and then they start to interpolate this guy. What's interesting is he denied na may death squad. Pero yung pagka-deny niya, yung patawa-tawa na parang, sabi nila meron, pero wala akong alam. So sabi, 20 years magkasama
Digong
kayo, wala kang alam?
style na,
Wala. Oh, so he kept lying. He was lying to his teeth. So Jinky Luistro, alam mo Jinky Luistro, I'm gonna do a top 5 key moments of Jinky Luistro kasi she is such a sharp interpolator. So, tanong siya. So, alam mo ba yung death squad? Hindi, wala akong alam. Alam mo ba pumapatay si Duterte? Wala. Pero inamin ni Duterte. Siya umamin, hindi ako, wala akong alam. Pero umamin na rin si Las Cañas, si ganon, si ganyan. Lahat ng mga kakilala mo umamin. Sinasabi mo, hindi pa rin totoo. Ewan ko sa kanila, pero wala akong alam. You're 20 years with him and wala kang alam. And then, walang sinasabi. And then, Jinky switches gears. And then she goes, I have a question. Di ba 20 years ka kay Duterte? Yes. Gano'ng kabait si Duterte sa'yo? Mabait po. Gano'ng kabait? Well, yung asawa ko may cancer, tapos tinulungan niya. Oh, so kaya you're close to him. Yes po. At saka nakita ko po paano siya tumulong ng mga tao, ganyan-ganyan. At galit siya sa mga kriminal. Okay, nakikinig lang si Luis. And then she goes, so 20 years ka, would you say you're loyal to him? He goes, yes ma'am. Ang bilis yes ma'am. How loyal? From 1 to 10, how loyal would you be? 1 to 10? 10. So you would be so loyal to him. Are you willing to give your life for him? Yes, ma'am, I'm willing to give my life for him. Would you be
Magsisinungaling ka
willing
para
to
sa
say,
kanya.
oh, sabi niya, would you be willing to say anything just to protect him? Yes, ma'am, I would. And then she goes, willing ka ba magsinungaling para sa kanya? And then he goes, no, of course not. Sinasabi mo, willing. So binalikan ni Jinky, sabi niya, sinasabi mo, willing kang mamatay para kay Duterte, hindi ka willing magsinungaling?
Yeah.
Aminin mo. Sabi, ginanon niya, aminin mo. Willing kang sabihin na kahit na anong kailangan sabihin para maprotektahan siya. And the guy looked at her blankly, hindi na sumagot. And then dito pumasok si Abante. Later on, Abante catches him na. Abante said to him, alam mo kung anong klaseng tao si Duterte? Ano? Opo. May tiwala siya sa'yo. Pag wala siyang tiwala sa'yo, ano sa tingin mo mangyayari sa'yo? Mamamatay ka, no? Sabi niya, opo. Inamin niya.
Grabe.
Opo. And then he goes, okay. So kaya hindi mo siya pwedeng parang i-double cross. Kasi alam mo, pag ma-double cross ka, mapapatay ka niya. And then he goes, opo.
Wala
Boom.
na. Alam na yung modus operandi. Yeah.
Yan na eh. Kaya nga nakita mo talaga eh. Sabi niya, alam niya kung anong klase si tao si Duterte kaya ayaw niya i-double cross. Ayun na. Boom. So, this Quadcom hearing, magaling talaga itong ating mga
Suave,
congressista.
suave.
Different styles of interpolating will break you down and kahit papano, mahuhuli ka. Ang problema lang, pag nahuli nila, sometimes sa sobrang haba ng Quadcom hearings, hindi na rin nila nahuhuli yung mga sagot. Kaya kailangan nila basahin yung transcript, panoorin ulit yung ginawa nila. Or maybe listen to vloggers like us who are so obsessed with this. At titignan natin at bubusisihin natin ang
Kaya
every
mahalaga
part of it.
yung ginagawa mo at saka ginagawa natin anyway kasi hina-highlight natin yung mga missed highlights or hina-highlight natin yung mga self-incriminating sides. Actually, sa totoo lang, kung hindi natin pinag-usapan yung hearing ni Digong, baka nakalusot pa yung mga DDS line na, tignan mo, rockstar, nagpapatawa siya. Pero nung nag-zoom in tayo sa mga sinabi niya at yung doon talaga, napansin ko hindi, nag-gets na rin ng mga DDS, yung sinasabi na hindi gumana, yung rockstar si Digong. O nga, no,
Right.
pinahamak na yung sarili niya, no? So, mahalaga talaga yung trabaho ng mga netizens katulad natin, no? Na
Yes.
i-empathize talaga. So, thanks, bro, for doing that. So, what are you saying is, ang daming mga self-incriminating parts din nangyari. Daming mga, booking moments.
Yes. And I understand naman talaga na ang hirap talaga sundan lahat to at ma-pick up lahat to because when people are watching,
12
remember,
hours. 12.
yeah, exactly. Yung after a while, lalakad ka, alis ka, you're gonna listen, you're gonna lose on, hindi ka makaka-focus eh. I had to literally sit in front of the computer and sometimes rewind parts, paulit-ulit. Did he really say that? May ganun ako before I even make a video. It's very difficult to catch these things, but I'm glad that at least now mga netizens, buhay na rin, they support the stuff that we do. It's important and nagsasalita ang ating mga netizens ngayon. Yun ang importante. They're part of the fight to be able to flesh out all the truths and the facts para hindi na tayo mabudol ulit. So, yun yung ano. Idadagdag ko lang, by the way, that Rappler did a really good piece
Bro.
where sinabi nga nila, yung Dubai property ni Rose Nonolin na binili nila immediately after the Farmally contract. Oh, kaya nga, BS, ang bait niya, actually, ang bait ng Quadcom kay Rose Nonolin eh. Honestly, with all the lies she said, I would have cited her in contempt and I would have put her in jail. I mean, in the congressional jail.
Parang si ano yung sa Polvoron hearing ni Bato.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that was terrible. Wow.
That was terrible. By the way, may tanong din ako. Anong reading mo dun sa Barbers and Bato having back and forth? Kasi
Well,
ginagawa nila yung sinabi natin, hamunin nyo na yung Senado kasi Japix naman sila eh.
Well, I think Senate right now is looking so bad na rin naman eh. The last hearing they did with Duterte was terrible. And people saw it. Alam mo, kahit na anong pagsispin ng mga Duterte trolls na dahil bayad sila to do it, ang hirap i-spin talaga yung nangyari doon eh. Na obvious talaga na narattle si Duterte, narattle siya talaga ni Senator Riza. And like I've always said, and we talked about this several times, listen, you cannot create that logical fallacy of I'm right because I'm a lawyer. Gawin mo ngayon yan sa Congress. Ayan na. Attorney Jinky Luistro. Subukan mo sabihin, you can't say that because I'm a lawyer. Well, I'm a lawyer too. Oh, Attorney Keith Flores. Oh, ang daming mga attorney dyan. Ang daming mga pulis dyan. Yung mga pulis na tulad ni Naakop. Oh, subukan mo siyang intimidate. Hindi mo ma-intimidate yung mga ganon. Kaya tingin ko talaga dito magbibehave si Duterte at he has no choice. But I think that with the right line of questioning, they can disarm him to be able to really not just admit but confirm the truth. Kasi doon sa Senate, ang nakita kong sayang I understand Senator Risa kasi ang hirap ng trabaho niya eh. Na pag may nag-pick up sana noon o may kasama si Senator Risa, pwede mo sabihin kay Duterte, I just want to confirm that you did say that. Right now, pakiulit lang to make sure that we are in agreement that you did say that. Although Senator Risa did say, please put it on record. But you need a double, triple, quadruple confirmation just to make sure that everyone understands that Digong did admit and say what he did say.
At saka to give a chance dun sa mga journalists and yung mga iba siguro nakatulog or nag-break. Uy, uy, may na-miss kayo mga highlights dito. Balikan nyo to, di ba? And siguro maganda rin sana gagawin ng mga, kasi tayo limited, wala tayong production team. I mean, if I had the
Yep.
production, sabi ko, i-reels nyo every major highlights and juice it out. Really make sure na talaga makita talaga ng tao anong kalokohan na nangyari talaga dito. So, papunta na ba tayo kung saan hindi lang ang lumalabas dito na ineffective or palpak or bara-bara yung war on drugs and digong, but more fundamentally, this was a fake drug war and worse than that, it was a human rights catastrophe. Kasi yung isang part din dito, yung kay Senator De Lima, di ba? Na nag-PowerPoint presentation siya na very comprehensive, looking at the numbers, patterns, investigations, all of the things you couldn't really fully discuss dun sa factotum hearing. Sorry, sa Senate hearing.
Okay, so here's my take on this, by the way. And I'm gonna do an interview with Senator De Lima possibly next week siguro. And I want to ask a couple of real questions to her and some really tough questions. I hope she's willing to answer some tough questions eh. Pero yung nakita ko talagang pagkakaiba dito, is that this one really gave the victims an opportunity to speak out. Unlike yung BS na nangyayari sa Senate na parang na double jeopardy pa yung mga biktima eh. Na biktima na nga ni Duterte, pinaharap pa kay Duterte at kay Bato para pagmura-murahin lang ni Duterte to question their credibility and to try to destroy their integrity. Grabe talaga. Yun ang pinaka nakakabad trip. Yung, ito na nga yung mga may gumawa sa akin ng mga may kasalanan sa akin at pamilya ko. At ako pa yung parang kina-question nila. Wow naman.
Pero
So,
ganyan talaga sila, di ba? Victim blaming. Ever since, victim
yes.
blaming. May kabastusan silang sasabihin, tapos kung magalit ka, kasalanan pa. Oh, bakit mo ginagawa ng malaking issue yan? Talaga gaslighting ang ginagawa ng mga walang yan ever since naman. So, maganda na, na booking sila. Pero anong read mo doon kay Senator De Lima, yung intervention? Although it came towards the end, medyo papuntang 1 a.m. na yata tayo noon eh. Oo.
Sorry, are you referring to the Quadcom or are you referring to the
Yeah,
Senate?
Quadcom.
To the Quadcom? Okay,
Yeah,
so she did a very detailed presentation which is really good. It explained everything that happened, lahat ng mga operations, how it was
from
all done.
mayor days pa. Oh.
Yes, lahat. Nilatag niya lahat yan ng maayos and it was very easy to understand. So kung gusto mo maintindihan kung how this drug war or fake drug war was implemented, the reward system, the vigilante squads from the police to the mga vigilantes na hindi police na talagang pumapatay tao lang, andyan lahat yan. And when nilabas niya yung testimony ni Las Cañas, wow. Alam mo, listening to Las Cañas testimony, tumayo, I sent chills down my spine. Tumayo lahat ng buhok talaga sa leg ko dyan. Parang ka nanonood ng pelikula from the 1990s na may isang guy na nagbabanggit lahat ng mga nangyaring grabing pagpapatay ng mga tao at how they did it. And I have to add, when they showed the video of Las Cañas, explaining how they killed all these people and the people involved, by name, binanggit niya. Binanggit niya si Sonny Buenaventura dito eh. All Sonny Buenaventura could say was, hindi po totoo yan. Hindi po totoo yan. And with a smirk on his face. Dito lang yung sinasabi ko na nagkulang yung Quadcom. And again, I don't blame them kasi ang hirap ng trabaho nila. But what I'm saying is, pabalikin nyo to si Sonny Buenaventura. Pag sinabi niyang, kasi tinanong sa kanya, itong quarry na to, dito daw nyo nililibig yung mga pinapatay nyo. Ma'am, hindi po totoo yan. Sigurado ako hindi totoo yan. Okay, dapat tinanong sa kanya, sige, pakisabi sa akin kung ano ba yung totoo. You know, when you ask that question kasi, then magkukwento siya. And in that story, may malalabas yan. Kasi 20 years yan of a lot of information na alam na itong bodyguard at driver ni Duterte. Mukhang ito yung tipong makwento at mabilis
Medyo marites. Oo, medyo
Oo,
mamarites.
Marites type na kaya nga nahuli siya ni Luistro. Kaya siya nahuli ni Akop. Kasi nga, marunong silang pumindot ng mga tamang mga button sa kanyang emotional at mental aptitude para malabas yun. So kaya next time, pag bumalik siya, kailangan tanungin, so sinabi mong hindi totoo, sinabi ni Las Cañas, ano yung version mo? Ayan, kasi version niya, may malalabas yan, may masasabi yan, I promise you. They never gave him a chance to explain. All he kept saying was, hindi po totoo yan. I'll tell you why I say this. Because let's say, Richard, I say to you, let's say you know a situation. Richard, alam mo, ito sinabi nila na nangyari sa situation na to. Kung wala ka doon, sasabihin mo, wala akong alam dyan. I was never there. Pero he was adamant. Hindi totoo yung sinasabi ni Las Cañas na ito yung ginawa at yan yung ginawa. Paano mo alam? 'Di ba? So tanungin ba, anong alam mo? Kung sabi mo dito, anong alam mo?
How do you negate it? Anong, exactly? Anong basis mo?
Exactly, kasi if you weren't there, it would be easy to say, well, you're telling me that's what he said, but I'm not there, so I don't know. I'm not gonna say to you, hindi totoo. I'm gonna say, I don't know. I wasn't there. But he kept saying, hindi totoo. He was so adamant that hindi daw totoo. Then, ano ba yung katotohanan? I'll tell you, kahit na anong lies ang sasabihin niya, may malalabas yan that you're gonna realize that he's saying a lie.
But this is where, again, kanina we were talking about the fact that one thing that militates against a Duterte comeback is poor yung copies, no? And then,
Yes.
sabi ko, what we have is a poor copy of an originally poor uh, entity. And dito lumalabas na talaga na gaano ka amateur hour. Kasi kung talagang airtight ang modus operandi ni Digong, they would have kept it, 'di ba?
Yep.
They would have kept it tight all this time. But hindi, like nakikita mo, konting pressure lang, wala na daming lumilitaw sa bunganga nila na talagang, and then yung mga laos na rin yung mga troll style nila na atake. So this is where you see na may pagka-amateur hour talaga eh. They got
Yes.
away with so much amateur hour all those years in their little part of the world, and now that they're in the big stage and wala na yung amo nila, yung tatay nila to protect them, wala na yung fear factor, yaring-yari na sila. I mean, I'm all with you in terms of medyo magaling naman yung mga nagtatanong, pero at the same time, parang minsan, syunga rin talaga itong mga bata ni Digong eh. No offense, pero very amateur hour. I mean, you don't need to
Ah,
look at bato lang to see all the clown show, to be honest.
well, you know, Richard, I want to add to that you're absolutely right. Kasi pag tinignan mo talaga naman lahat ng pumapaligid kay Duterte, they're really amateurs. Bato, Salvador Panelo,
Mga
si
third-rate people, third rate.
yeah, sorry, they're not that. I'm sorry, they're just not that savvy, I
They're
guess,
not
when
the
it comes to.
sharpest tool in the
No,
tool.
they're not. I mean, remember when that they came up with the drug war, the drug matrix? Then nasali si Hitlin Diaz, our Olympic gold medalist. I'm like, good Lord,
Jollibee.
what? Huh?
Jollibee. But disigression.
Jollibee, sabi parang ano ba naman gagawan kayo na to?
Kaya
Yung
nagalit
sana
ako, ba't di
naman,
ako kasama? Si Ronald Llamas kasama ko.
yeah.
Siya. Sabi,
Di
Richard,
ba
ba't
yun
wala
yung,
ka? Oo nga eh.
kaya nakikita mo na nakakatawa na lang na parang binubudol tayo ng mga palpak na mga all fake stuff. Even when they were putting the evidence against De Lima, it was so frustrating to watch it dahil noong time na yun, naalala ko na hindi na nga nagtutugma yung storya ni Kerwin Espinosa kay Ronnie Dayan. Pero for some reason, yung mga nanonood, paniwalang paniwala sa mga kinuwento kahit hindi nagtugma yung dates. Kasi yung date, sabi ni Kerwin na, oo, nagkita kami ni De Lima. Pero nung sinabi, kailan kayo nagkita? Nung araw na to. Teka lang, Ronnie Dayan wasn't working for De Lima na nung taon na yun ah. Oh, paano nangyari yun na connected pa yung kay De Lima? Hindi naman nagtatrabaho na. Next, sabi niya, etong year, sabi ni Ronnie Dine, etong year, they were off by 1 year. Hindi ba kayo nag-usap bago kayo nag-collaborate ng mga
Brother, alam
dates?
mo, we need to level up na. Alam mo, ang binabasa ko ngayon na I'm reading Alexei Navalny's memoirs, no? Ito
Oh,
yung
wow.
and he's super loady. Nakita mo yung mga videos na ginagawa niya sa mga corruption, like
Yep,
pinapakita yung mansion, tapos
yep,
pinapakita niya yung mga documents, how bro, I think that should be our next logical step. Kasi sa sobrang daming, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to really show the documents, paano hindi tumutugma. I mean,
yep.
next level. And you're doing a fantastic job, bro. I mean, if Pepe Jokno or some of the great guys were to do a documentary Netflix style on this, I would definitely recommend you. And I think all of us have to come together. Kasi
Yeah.
nagiging ridiculous na to eh. This is surreal. But
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh. No, can I just say that, when you're talking about how bad or how terrible they are at manufacturing evidence or fake documents. Yung I want to use the example of Sara Duterte that he's just like her dad when it comes to coming up with fake documents. Yung paggawa nila ng mga acknowledgement receipts nila. Sobrang nakakainsulto talaga yun eh. Yung mali-maling dates, walang signature, walang pangalan. Yung pangalan, Mary Grace Piatos. Nakakainsulto talaga eh. Oh yeah, Alexei Navalny, my God. Yeah, alam mo what he went through, I feel so bad for him
I
because the
love this
Russian
guy.
people,
He's my hero. Yeah,
I'm at the point where the Russian people don't deserve him. Man, they don't deserve him.
he's too
They
good.
should have stood
He's
up for him. they could have stood up for him when Putin had him murdered. Yun lang talaga. Kawawa talaga. And I really hope to see justice in Russia. Nakakaawa. Pero ang galing nung
Galing niya pare, the best.
disinformation campaign nila.
This guy, grabe.
So,
I mean, imagine mo, pinatay na nga, bumalik pa rin, di ba? Para lang
yep.
mag-serve sa kanyang bansa. Ibang klase ito. I mean, and there's Nemestov, another one assassinated. Grabe rin yung Russia eh. Solid din yung mga netizens nila. I mean, this guy was a vlogger basically. You know, a
Yes.
real estate corporate lawyer turned into a private investigator. Next thing you know, he has his blog. Eventually, bro, we have to do something like that. Create our own anti-corruption foundation. Really, like, bring production together. Like, there's so much materials.
Yes. Yes, there is.
I
So,
mean, you are doing fantastic now by just showing how fantastical itong mga nonsense na mga digong, mga team nila, grabe. Kaya nga bro, sa akin ganito eh. Actually, nadidepress ako the more we say gaano ka amateur hour ang mga Dutertes. Because, I mean, I look at Navalny when he makes fun of Putin and all, but I compare Putin's operation level to Digong's operation level.
yes.
And then, natatalo pa rin tayo sa kanila. That's actually bad judgment on us as a
On Filipinos
democracy.
in general, yeah.
Yeah, bro, that it just says how easy we are to be budul. Na kung third-rate scammers like these
Okay.
people are getting away, that tells you we are so weak. We're so weak as a
Okay.
democracy, bro.
Okay, I'll come to the defense in this one. Richard, kasi I want you to remember that this all started when? What year? Would you remember? 2015. The rise of social media, the rise of fake news. Duterte was the first to capitalize on fake news using troll armies. As a
No, no,
matter
no,
of
no,
fact,
no, no, no,
confirmed
no,
yan.
no, no. It was my people. Solid North. YouTube,
Oh,
yung yellow monkey, cage monkey ba yan? Yung mga pro-Marcos stuff? Bro, they've been on YouTube since 2010, 11. I'll tell
okay. No,
you,
but
nauna Marcoses. No
yeah,
offense.
okay, sige. But what I'm saying is that the use of Cambridge Analytica with the algorithms and how to push the info. So basically, creating this scientific way to be able to change your mind and to manipulate the way you think happened all in 2015. Duterte was the first experiment before they did it for Trump in
Just to add
2016.
to your argument, and also let's not forget, bro, I think people don't appreciate how important this is. Remember yung na-introduce yung free Facebook? Yung
Oh,
kahit
yes.
wala kang internet,
Yes.
ang free Facebook. So yung
Okay.
Facebook mo yung internet mo. Kaya ang dali manipulate yung Facebook nun. Kasi wala nang, paano mo i-fact check, di ba? Kasi wala ka naman internet eh. Tama ka, yun yung isa sa pinaka na manipulate ng mga Dutertes, yung free Facebook without internet. Kasi karamihan nating kababayan, they cannot afford. It's too expensive. Ako nga, most of the time, wala ako rin internet na prepaid. So I agree with you on that level, absolutely.
Yeah, and okay, and guess what? There was a level up to that. After Facebook, what was next? Free TikTok.
Bro,
Oh,
100%.
wow.
100%.
Free TikTok was worse because TikTok, they really proliferated with so much fake news and walang counterpoint. And doon nagpunta yung mga trolls. So yung mga tao nanonood, tingin nila, ang daming sumusuporta sa view na to. So, yun nga, yun nga, Pied Piper leading all the blind mice. Ayan na nangyari, sunod-sunuran ng mga tao without understanding. But this is where what I'm about to say in defense of the nabubudol ng mga Pilipino. Ito na yon. Ngayon, hindi na tayo nabubudol kasi naintindihan na natin na may fake news, naintindihan na natin na maraming propaganda, naintindihan na natin na hindi natin dapat paniniwalaan ang lahat na nakikita natin at hindi lang yon. Ngayon kasi hindi na tayo takot magsalita. So ngayon, pag nakikita mo yung mga comment sections ng kahit na mga supporters ni Duterte at mga trolls, marami nang nagpo-push back. And I want to congratulate all the people watching kasi kayo ang rason kung bakit hindi na kumakalat ang fake news. Dahil sa inyo, pag tinignan mo yung mga trolls, may sabihing mali, kinokontra nyo. Yun yung tama. Na kahit yung mga trolls na stress na sobra, dahil sobra dami kumukontra sa kanila, na at least kung babayaran sila ganyan kalaki, di ba? Dapat mas stress talaga sila dahil yun ang kailangan, yun ang binabayaran sa inyo para makuha nyo lahat ng stress na yan para sumuko kayo. Yun ang tama na nangyari. Yun ang pinagkaiba ngayon kumpara nung
Saka dumami na
2016.
rin tayo. And by the way, hindi ko I don't blame the voters. Ako is very adamant ako dun sa issue na don't blame the voters. I'm blaming us, meaning people who are supposed to be on the good side of history, whether mga statesmen, opinion makers, journalists. Ako, isa sa mas regrets ko is sana ginagawa natin ito 6, 7, 8 years ago, right? Sana
Yep.
ginawa natin nito at least 4 or 5 years ago. Sana hindi ako nagsimula nung 2021, 2022 lang, di ba? How I wish I started this earlier. Kasi I was still under this illusion na basta andun kami sa mga top newspapers, top TV, whatever. Sapat yan. Obviously, hindi siya sapat. So, I'm very glad that we're doing this. And I think, kasi ano yun, nag-feed off di ba? May ano yun,
Yes.
back loop yan Kung may mga matitinong vloggers na inspire yung mga matitinong tao, kung inspire yung matitinong tao na mas inspire yung matitinong vloggers, and then you keep on building momentum, di ba? Yun ang nangyari ngayon. So you're right. At least we're learning. We're adjusting. My strategic learning.
Yep. And not only that, Richard, I have to say that yes, you're right. This only happened in 2022. My channel only blew up in 2022. Christian Esguerra's channel only blew up in 2022. All of us, all of us, it only started in 2022. I've been speaking about this since 2018. Funny, I saw a video I did in 2018 for the 2019 elections, if I'm not mistaken. Midterm elections for senator. I remember I
Well,
watched it.
bro, you were
Akala
not
ko it
doing
was...
consistent on politics. You were more doing
No.
for lifestyle coaching, Bitcoin.
Yes.
Kasi you have to be consistent. So lahat tayo, I'll say this. I think in fairness, Christian Esquera also deserves all the credit kasi siya yung pinaka-professional sa atin lahat, diba?
Yes.
Online. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We have all of our day jobs and all, but in fairness to Christian, he's the one who really professionalized this. So he's setting setting the standard. So I'm just from the bottom of my heart, thank you kay paring Christian for doing that. So you're absolutely right. Momentum din yan But I don't know, kasi ako parang frustration ko is, yun ang sinasabi ni Mark Gambo Now we abandon the field to the enemy essentially for all those years from 2010
Yes.
onwards. So medyo bawi time tayo. And you're right, TikTok is actually the next big one. Kasama ko kahapon, yung isang araw lang si Ellie Soriano ba yung pangalan niya? Yung vlogger, TikToker na
Yes. Magaling yun.
So, magaling yan. So I'm thinking we'll do also collaborations with him. I think we have to be active also on TikTok. We cannot abandon it. Ako kasi because nasa-censor yung mga West Philippine Sea stuff ko, nagalit ako, inaaway ko sila. But no choice I mean, while it's there, we have to fight the good fight. So salamat din sa mga supporters natin. Kahit paano, napansin ko yung mga short videos natin, at least nakaka 100, 200,000 views na rin on TikTok. So there's something na hindi kailangan maghubat ako or magsayaw ako or mag-sexy dance. That gives me hope. That gives me hope. Not that I cannot do, good sexy dance, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Bro, you
Actually,
you were telling, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention two things pala, by the way. And yung isa pa lang, I forgot to mention that I would love to remind everyone was Percy Lapid. Percy Lapid was one of the first voices na walang takot, na nagsasabi at naglalabas ng lahat ng mga katiwalian. And he was really hitting the nerves of all the corrupt. Kaya siya napatay. Because he was saying stuff na nobody would talk about. He was revealing stuff that people were afraid to say from sources that were very credible. Kaya talagang
100%.
I really want to give
100%.
credit to him. So yun yung isa. Next, I want to talk si Christian naman. I was with Christian last weekend lang. We were together for a
How
little
dare
Christmas.
you together not inviting
I
me?
know, no.
Just
No,
kidding.
I was a little Christmas project lang. Pero I'll get you nga part of that because it's quite interesting. First time I got to talk to him. Pero I thought about this when after I met with him. I said, si Christian, he does live streaming every day consistently at I don't know, 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever time. Consistent every day.
Professional. He's essentially doing what he used to be doing in the ANC. Yung
Yes.
quality level, professionalism,
Yeah.
production.
So this is I'll tell you what my interesting take on this. He used to be the ANC anchor, di ba? And I remembered watching him as an ANC anchor. And I always remembered watching him and saying, but this guy, they're just reading off a script. Wala. Pero I know they have a lot of opinions, pero hindi nila sinasabi. And then, Faith jumped in. You know how Faith jumped in? When Duterte closed ABS-CBN, he lost his job. What happened after that? He started his YouTube channel. And then, that became Duterte's undoing because vloggers like Christian now, like us, ayan na, naglabasa na. And that's why now he does it. And kudos to him because he makes more money now than what ANC could ever pay him. Diba? Congratulations.
Pag-usapan ng pera, baka manan tayo ng mga patay gutom na vloggers. Basta ako nagbabayad ng buwis ko dito sa mga
but, funny nga pag
double
binarinig ako
taxation
mga... But remember, maraming mga nagsasabi dyan ng mga trolls na, bayaran ka naman eh. Alam mo, I wish nga bayaran ako sa totoo lang eh. Kasi, wouldn't it be nice if you're just sponsored like the way some of the trolls are? Yung they get paid what? Like 500,000 to 1 million a month or 2 million, whatever.
I know comedians who get like paid 1 million for just some performance in some barangay. So I think we are all underpaid, whether the bayaran ones and the not bayaran ones. But may nakita ko isang patay gutom ng bayaran na vlogger. Sabi niya kailangan din na magpa lifestyle check yung mga like ano yun ba public officials na. Sabi ko sana lifestyle check sila kung galing sa China yung pera nila, ibang usapan yan. But going back to this, so what you're saying, because the whole point of this discussion was, can it also happen here? The comeback of Trump, right? So we're circling back to the initial point. That was my column this week on Philippine Daily Inquirer. After Trump, is a Duterte comeback possible? So essentially, you know, argument. So I think what we have kind of agreed on is, there are many weaknesses that Duterte has compared to Trump. He doesn't have the Republican serious machinery. He doesn't have the showman skill. He's much more aged. It's not him running again. It's Sara. And all of this, well, drug killings and all. Na wala naman kay Trump. In fairness naman, he never did anything like that. And hopefully nothing crazy in the next 4 years. So going back to this, you're overall optimistic or cautiously optimistic that there's enough for us to make sure that there will not be a Duterte comeback in 2020. Is that essentially, obviously everyone has to do their assignment, right? Including BBM and Quadcom and DOJ and ICC. But if you were to hazard a prognostication, you are cautiously optimistic na it looks like the Duterte fever may have broken for good.
Yes. So it'll come down to this. Two things that we mentioned. Number one, on the current administration side, they can't drop the ball. They gotta be literally on the ball. They're doing the right things right now. At maganda yung ginagawa nila that it's coming from all sides with different heads. So it's attacking as a team. Hindi lang isang bumabanat. It's coming in from all sides and it's attacking from all angles. From drugs to corruption to mga EJKs to West Philippine Sea to Church. So all issues are being attacked on all sides. That's brilliant how they did that. So if they keep at it, and so that's one, is make sure they keep at that, and to make sure that there are positive actions that have results, quantifiable results na makikita ng mga taong bayan para makita na talagang, uy, gumagana yung gobyerno. Yun ang importante. So the John Vicramula Malacanang press con kanina was really good. If they can fulfill that at mapakita nila yung resulta ng action na ginagawa nila, tataas lalo ang approval rating ni BBM for that. And if they keep at that, right, on that trajectory, they should be well off to be able to, whether they're going to field a candidate or another opposition candidate comes in, mananalo yun. Next, the other side of it, they have to make sure they keep hammering on key points that show how bad the Dutertes were for the Philippines, which is a fact naman eh. It's not hard to prove that. You just have to show yung mga
horrible people.
Sorry, talagang they are like, listen, ganito lang kasimple yan Sara Duterte never defended, Fiona, never defended her budget. Never defended how she mismanaged the confidential fund. She just keeps saying it's political. It's only political kung wala kang ginawang mali at hinahabol ka ng gobyerno natin. Pag may nagawa kang mali, ikaw may kasalanan kung bakit ka ngayon naiimbestigahan. So yun. And then the last part of this is the other side of it. Then depends on what the Dutertes do. I know that they're trying to do what they can. For example, change the narrative. What is the prevailing storyline today? Yan. So that's when Sara blurts out some stupid thing na itatapon yung katawan ni Marcos and then becomes the narrative. So that's why kaya tinatanong ng mga netizens sa akin why I don't comment about those things because I don't want that to be the storyline. Kasi that means sinusundan mo yung gusto nilang pag-usapan. Let's talk about the confidential funds. Yan ang iniiwasan niya. Yan ang pag-usapan. Don't allow them to dictate what is the story of the day. And that's where magaling sila. Magbe-blurt out sila ng something stupid, react tayong lahat, ayan na, it becomes the headline. When the headline should be, what is the problem? Confidential funds is a problem. Corruption is a problem. Yan ang pag-usapan natin. So always, don't react to everything they say. Sometimes ignoring them is a good thing. Sumagot na lang kayo sa comment, pero wag natin palakihin yung issue. Wag ka magre-repost, sumagot ka lang sa mga trolls, banatan mo lang sila doon, pero wag mong i-repost yung mga sinasabi niya. Yan ang labanan. So, That's how it's going to be. Now, if, for example, Sarah is able to create the narrative and create the talking points, anything is possible. Not only that, add ko lang, like yung isa pa, yung hair follicle test. Pinipilit talaga ni Pulong, hair follicle test tayo para mapakita kung sino matino. Hey, listen, I don't care how many hair follicle tests you're doing. Most of these people don't do drugs. Pag-usapan natin yung pagnakaw mo ng 51 billion ng DPWH flood control project at bakit baha pa sa Davao. Yan ang pag-usapan natin. BS tong mga hair follicle na to. They're trying
Tsaka
to move the
pagtawanan
narrative.
mo, paano si Bato? Saan nila kunin?
Oh, di ba? Yung mga ganyan eh. Like even Maharlika coming up with all these videos and talking points with Kathy Binag.
Maharlika is still around. I mean, last year pa niya sinabi may polvoron.
Exactly.
I
Well,
mean, those
yeah,
clowns.
wala. I'll tell you right now, basta hindi na kasing, kahit na anong binubulgar nila, wala, nothing sticking right now. Because people are more concerned about the more important issues. Kaya doon ko nasasabi sa'yo, Richard, na natutuwa ako because I think Filipinos now are more aware, more conscious, at more critical thinkers. Dumadami ng mga critical thinkers. At doon ako natutuwa at nakikita ko na may pag-asa yung ating bayan.
100% counselor, and she said 100%. Beautiful, beautiful. Great show, great show. Wonderful people. No, that was great. I think we went 360 degrees talaga. We started with Trump. Kasi syempre may nagsabi, ba't pakin natin kay Trump? Nag-feeling kayo, di naman kay American. Like, wait, papunta tayo dyan. Kung hintayin nyo lang, parang Socrates yan eh. Hintayin nyo lang, magigets nyo saan papunta itong conversation na ito. So thank you so much, brother. Kahit pinahintay mo ka ng content kasi wala pang Zoom link. Kahit medyo late din ako, may kasalanan din ako. Thank you so much, brother, for making this happen. Apologies, I couldn't join kahapon because apparently the person we were supposed to interview for another podcast I'm doing, US-based. So 9:30 p.m. here is just 8 a.m. done. So unfortunately, I was not able to do this kahapon. So as we discussed, we're hoping that every Monday at least we do this, God willing, more regularly. So syempre, idol natin si Esquera. So gusto natin set the tone, medyo regularize. So that's what, around 9 p.m. every Monday or so, we'll try to do this. Also, abangan yan. Hopefully, we'll be joined also with Professor Lisandro Claudio from Berkeley very shortly in the next 12 to 15 hours kung gising pa siya mamaya, to also discuss the US perspective dahil kapitbahay nila yung bahay nila Kamala Harris not long ago. So thank you so much, Christian. Thank you for your effort. Salamat sa energy mo, sa dedication mo. And as I said, I mean it. I mean, even when you're becoming, you're gonna, God willing, become a counselor, I hope tuloy-tuloy itong energy mo kasi we really need to do a Navalny kind of thing. Talagang pakita natin yung kababuyan na ginagawa sa ating bayan. Para hindi lang tayo mamulat, we will be talagang angered into action. I think yun na lang kulang na step eh. Matalino ng tao, medyo next step na lang kulang. Just show a little bit of parang warm bodies. Yun lang kailangan natin. Brother, is there anything that you want people to check on your platforms, including, did you do a recent Quadcom breakdown that you want people to check out because you're the gold standard? Kung si Christian is production, professionalization, all of things, ikaw naman gold standard ka sa hearings. Magaling ka sa hearings.
Pero I just want to add, Richard, before we go, na yung naging problema ko nga kasi, ang haba talaga na itong mga Quadcom hearings na to. And sometimes I need to get the content out there. And it takes so long to put it together. Kasi yung editing pa lang, downloading the videos, tapos getting the snippets, and then recording it, ang hirap talaga ng edit. It takes me about 8 hours or so to be able to edit. And I just did part 1 of it. So these things are very important kasi at least dito, nakukwento ko na lang sa'yo. Although ang kulang lang natin is I don't get to show you some of the footage from the Quadcom hearings to prove the point and para makita nyo talaga what I'm talking
Yun
about.
dapat talaga, bro, di ba? Yun yung editing level. So maybe down the road, we should get a mini production team, siguro kahit half volunteers or something. Because I think people can see from my eye bags, I'm already overstretched. I'm doing so much already. But thanks to you, brother. So I hope...
Thank you.
At the end of the day, bro, I hope people realize na you and I were just another normal citizens. We're doing our best here. So kung wala sa tulong nyo in whichever form, whether it's good comments, constructive comments, prayers, stars, whatever you can give us, it really goes a long way. And down the road, I don't know about you, but down the road, I'm hoping also if I can create my own foundation, right? Like do proper production Navalny style para talaga pag-usapan ni issue at mamulat ng tao, especially Gen Z, di ba? They're very visual. They like to see data, analytics, mga ganon.
Yep.
Mahirap yan, mahal yan. effort,
yes.
Daming effort yan. But if you continue hopefully to support us and lalaki itong movement natin. We're creating a movement. Hindi naman MAGA, but make Philippines more critical thinking again, right? Yun ang movement natin. Salamat kapatid. Talk to you soon. God
Thank you
bless.
so much, Richard.
Thank you so much,
Sige, good
guys.
night, everyone.
Don't forget to follow him too. Fantastic
All
work.
right.
Talk to you soon. All right. Paano ba to?